pretty good returns so far for the Los Angeles Lakers. 3-0, Bill, beat the Wolves on opening night, beat the Suns on Friday. They're playing the Suns again tonight in Phoenix. And then they beat the Kings on Saturday. Watch that one. That was a pretty good game. LeBron was in both of the back-to-backs, as was AD. And Anthony Davis, Bill, JJ Redick said this to start the season before, going into the season. He was like, we want to play through AD. I've heard a lot of coaches say that previously. Tough to do on a team that still has LeBron, but they're doing it so far, and he's looked amazing.
Look, it's early returns, and let's do the old asterisk. It's been not even a handful of games. JJ looks amazing, and as the head coach and what he's doing, and to your point, if Anthony Davis can be as top 5 underselling what he's doing, I think it is. I mean, if he can be an MVP level player, if they can get the best out of Anthony Davis, if LeBron actually doesn't have to be the best player on the floor, although I'm sure you saw LeBron's going to play 82 games, a little shot at Embiid. I enjoyed it. Just like a little shot at Joel.
A little
one. So I was obviously highly skeptical that the Lakers were going to be particularly good this year. I had them outside of the plan in our predictions. Those are worth what you pay for them, nothing. And we sort of all knew that there was going to be a few games maybe separating several teams. But they don't look like a playing team. They look like a top 6 playoff team right now. They look legit. So verdict's out. Let's see. But I think for me, John, the big question mark was, is JJ Redick a genius? Is he an arrogant buffoon when it comes to being a coach, right? Not in life. You were pretty high on him. You know him. I don't. You've been around him in your Philly days. It's early days, but the way the offensive running, how much better it is than under last year's coach. To your point, how good Anthony Davis looks. And again, I went to one game, but the vibe was really kind of right. The vibe was good, and people in the Lakers organization will tell you that there's just a much happier sort of sense of confidence and camaraderie and teamwork and confidence in their coach. Yeah, man, things are looking up for the Lakers.
What they're getting out of Anthony Davis is last year's Anthony Davis crossed with this summer's Olympic Anthony Davis. He's been very aggressive. That's always been a knock against him, that, maybe he's not as physical and aggressive as he needs to be. He's gone to the line a ton. To your point about JJ, I didn't know if this was the right job for him, and I didn't know whether or not it would work out for him as a coach. And it might not still. It's only been 3 games, right? I do know, though, that he's a smart guy. There's a mind at work there. Now, that might not necessarily translate to the Lakers actually achieving anything. I had them at the top end of the play-in, somewhere in that 7-8 range. Maybe they overachieve and do slightly better than that. But I just like the idea of somebody smart who's thought about this on the sideline, and then we'll go from there, because they have, for all intents and purposes, the same personnel as last year, plus Dalton Connect. And, Max Christie is healthy, and Gabe Vincent is healthy.
Vincent's healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. And that helps. That definitely helps. But that bench is not exactly like gangbusters. And eventually they'll get Vanderbilt back. I still think they have a math problem here, Bill, because, you see the Boston Celtics jacking up a league high, like 51 threes a game, which is on average, like absolutely ridiculous. And JJ said, that's the way we want to play. We want to shoot 53s per game this year. And we all kind of laugh because they don't have the personnel for it. They're averaging about 30 threes per game, and that's not nearly enough. And I just wonder where they're going to get that extra offense when they're going to need it eventually.
I mean, I think right. Well, I don't think it's coming, but they don't have the personnel to do what you're describing in Boston. But if Anthony Davis is going to play at an MVP level and be offensively really dynamic and really aggressive, and they're going to get the best version of him, maybe it closes some of the gap. But we're not talking a 1-3 team, but maybe we're talking a 5-8, a team that can actually be in the top. Again, I keep saying the same thing. It's really, really early. Here's the other thing that was put to me by somebody, might have been producer Aaron, I can't even remember. And that is like, do you think, and I'll ask you, do you think there's a world where all the hoopla about Bronny and all this sort of like Bronny in game 1, Anthony Davis thought, okay, that's fine, but I'm actually going to go out there and be the face of this team, and I don't have to have, there's not the pressure, there's not the same focal point, but I actually am going to carry this team while this circus is going on with my buddy's kid.
Yeah, I think that, while all that is swirling, he can just do his job and be really good at basketball, right? I mean, like, he's not numb to that stuff. I mean, he knows that it's going to happen, but it almost, not to say that it provides cover for him, because he's always been a good player. I mean, he made all NBA last year, right? Which is something that I kept.
Yeah,
that was my whole focus for the Lakers. Two guys, right? And those 2 guys are really good, but the one guy has his son to deal with. So the other guy is just like, I'm going to go play basketball and be really good at it. You mentioned something that I thought was interesting there. AD at an MVP level, like nobody's was talking about that
No,
preseason. Right now, I mean, again, 3 games, whatever, but he's certainly playing at that level right now that you'd have to be like, if the Lakers end up as a 4-5 seed and way overachieve, and AD plays like the AD of all NBA level / all defense level / the AD that we saw in the Olympics,
he's talented enough to be an
maybe.
MVP, even with that. And then the other thing is we've all been sort of preparing for and talking about what would happen when LeBron was the second best player on a team. And I'll speak for myself. I thought that was gonna, or the second most important. I thought that was gonna happen when he really trailed off. But if it happens because AD just takes a major step and LeBron is still playing more or less the level that he did last year, I mean, that's a pretty significant sort of interesting question too. Is like, what does it look like when you've got LeBron playing at a pretty high level, whatever his age, and
There's
he's the second best player on the team?
there's a case to be made that AD was their best player in the bubble chip, right? I mean,
Yes.
so I mean,
That's
maybe that was the formula that they just
that's a
kind
good
of like
call.
needed to go with anyway.
I mean, the knock was, or not the knock, but like the thought was, and I shared it, but a bunch of folks is okay. AD was that guy, but he also got a bunch of months off because obviously COVID shut the world down. So when we got to the bubble, he was rested, he was recuperated. The thought being AD's body just can't handle 82 games, however many he plays, then a 2-month playoff run to the finals. But if it can, right, if he can be that guy in a full season, then yes, because we've seen it. I just don't know that it speaks to the reality of how many games you actually are supposed to play to win an NBA championship. You're supposed to play between now and the end of June, basically.
Yeah, I don't doubt his talent at all. To the extent that I'm concerned, I would have any concern or do any concern trolling over AD. It would be that. It would just be about how durable he was durable last year,
Yes, he
played
was.
great, totally available,
Yep.
had one of his best seasons in recent memory. As I mentioned, makes all NBA and all defense, and then goes to the Olympics and wins a gold medal. That's a lot of mileage. I just want to see him make it through the season because, like I said, we're going to talk about Steph Curry later on. And it's just like these guys who are getting a little bit older and have a lot of wear and tear. I just want to see them out there and healthy.
Here's my crazy case for Anthony Davis MVP, which I didn't even think I was going to.
Okay, hit me.
So, and then we're going to hit this later, but if Milwaukee's, it's early, I got it. If
Mhm.
Milwaukee's a hot damn mess and makes it hard for Giannis to be in that mix, if Denver takes a couple steps back, right, even though the 4 seed, I think especially with how many he's won, it makes it hard for Jokic to win that award. Embiid's already announced basically he's not going to play enough games. So the big 3 in competition, there's other guys you can put out there. I think Shea is the main person you're competing with. But if the Lakers vastly overperform expectations, they finish 4th or 5th, and Anthony Davis has a career year, and he's an all defensive level player, defensive player of the year level guy, which he is when he plays. I don't know. That's an interesting dark horse for me to keep an eye on.
All of that is true, and then also they've been enjoyable to watch, which
Right.
hasn't always been the case. So I'm really looking forward to this evening's second game against the Suns in Phoenix. Before we move on, today is G League Camp Opens Day, which might also signal sayonara Bronny James. So we're going to bring in producer Aaron here, who has a question for us on Bronny.
Yeah, it's generally not a topic that has a lot of nuance, but maybe you could call this a conspiracy theory. But I have something I want to run by you guys. Bill, you earlier in the show talked about how good the vibes were around the Lakers. Insofar as that is, whatever portion of that is coming from JJ Redick, whatever portion of that is coming from perhaps having Bronny around, making practices more fun, which they definitely are, and making LeBron more engaged. Do you guys think it is worth it to have Bronny around the team more? Obviously, it's not great for him, right? He needs to go to the G League to play. For his career, it's better for him to be in the G League. But it may be better for the Lakers for him to be on the Lakers just because of what it does for the vibes and for keeping LeBron engaged.
So can I start this off, John? My answer is I have a short answer and a long answer.
Okay.
The short answer is no. It is not worth it. Absolutely not.
Okay.
You let Bronny, but there's a pattern. There's a thing you can do with G League players that Sam Presti really perfected a long time ago, where he would have his young guys basically be on the G League, and every moment that they could come up for a practice, and just like with the Lakers, Oklahoma City had moved their then whatever it was called, their G League team from I think Tulsa to nearby, so they could come up, go down, come up, go down. Right? You can sort of do both. And Does Bronny need to travel on the plane? No. But home games, he can sit on the bench and be there. He can be at practices. You can work around a G League schedule. So I would bring, and they're going to, I'd bring Bronny around the actual NBA team as much as possible. But and we've hit this, John. Bronny's not good enough. Most people think he's not good enough. He can be good enough, maybe, but he's got to be playing, but gaining confidence in the G League. Not even I. Every GM you talk to, every scout you talk to, who is honest about this, he's got to be in the G League for his own sake as much as possible.
I mean, as we mentioned, JJ's really kind of set his rotation for the bench here. He's going 9 deep with Jackson Hayes, Gabe Vincent, Christie, and then Dalton Connect. So Bronny's not going to factor into that. So just from like a player perspective, for a guy who clearly isn't good enough to play, he does need to go to the G League and work on his game and get as many reps as he can. Because even then, it's going to be a tall order for him. Now, that said, I don't know that that's going to fix it, because it's not like, unless he grows, 4 or 5 inches and
that's exactly right,
30 pounds. I don't know that he's ever going to be an NBA player, at which point Aaron's question is kind of like, do you just keep him around as like a team mascot, like a good vibes guy?
I also don't know if I buy the premise. I think LeBron would sell that premise. Like I buy the idea that LeBron being happy is really significant, and having covered LeBron, like his mood is really important, and it shifts significantly, sometimes week to week, day to day, certainly season to season. So yeah, you want to keep him happy, but what else does he want? You drafted his kid. His kid's there. And to your point about him struggling, I think I brought this up last week, but I wrote a column for Bronny's debut, and I talked to a bunch of people, and one former GM who had scouted him in person told me that he's going to struggle in the G League. Like that was his. So
I don't think that that's unreasonable, but also like the idea of keeping him around for vibes as like kind of a team mascot, like totem, is so sad for that kid.
Sad.
Like, go to the, you know what? It's good for us because we get to talk about this, and he's a topic of conversation and whatever. If I was Bronny, disappear me, send me to the South Bay Lakers where I can just play and not have to deal with this, because none of this attention for him so far has been good.
I agree. 2 questions for you, because I've never been to a G League game as like a reporter who's going to write a story. How many of us do you think will be at will be at Bronny's G League debut?
Oh, there's going to be, you know what? You're right. I'm talking about go disappear in the South Bay Lakers. That's not going to happen either. I mean, there'll be media there to ask them questions. And now, how many will be there after game 2?
After game
5, 10?
Yeah, that's what it is. So he needs time for all of us to get bored and move on.
Yeah. Godspeed, Bronny James. Off to the G League you go.